welcome to Module 2. In this module, we are going to look at one of the most common cinematic moves with a drone, which is circling a subject. We want you to master the simplicity of using manual controls rather than the point of interest function to understand how smooth micro movements with the sticks will make you a better pilot and give all of your movements a smoother, more cinematic look. So step one is looking at what ruins a shot. We are going to look at some examples of shots which are ruined by jerky movements and then look at some better examples. Step two is the practical. In this part, we are going to run through setting yourself up for the practical shooting and show you some things to consider when preparing your shot. Step three is about manual control and smooth cinematic movement. This is how to control the sticks for better, nicer, smoother movements in a circular motion. And step four is the checklist. Lastly, in the final stage, we are going to look at the checklist of things to do in order to get yourself shooting smooth movements with your drone. So now we're going to look at some examples of shots that are ruined by a sudden jerky movement or a subtle movement that ruins a smooth path of a shot. For this shot, I wanted to get a nice, low, long shot below the canopy of the trees in this cider orchard, and as there was not a lot of room between the rows, it was vital that the shot was dead centre between the rows. I soon realised that I was going off centre and the symmetry was not there and I was drifting off centre. I stopped the shot, re-centred the shot, and then did the shot in reverse, bringing it backwards towards myself. This way, it made it a lot easier to see the drone as it came back towards me. For this shot, I was coming backwards with the drone with the intention of revealing Ludlow Castle into the frame. I realised that I needed to go more to the right to bring the castle into frame, and that movement of going from backwards to sideways I was not happy with. So I then stopped, slightly reframed and tried another sideways movement, but again I was not happy because there was no sense of reveal in the shot. So instead I opted to come around the castle, then rise up and pan across to reveal the rest of the town of Ludlow into the frame. And in this last shot, I had a beautiful misty sunrise over the main church of Ludlow, and I wanted to have a nice clean arc around the tower with the sun in the background. The only problem was my thumb was not placed very well on the right control stick, and I couldn't keep the tower central. So as soon as I realised I'd lost the central position, I stopped. I reframed the shot and then tried the movement in reverse, and this gave a much better result as it brought the sun into the frame, and then it brought this lovely movement across the shadows of the turrets of the church. So all in all, it was a better result. Now we want you guys to have a go at trying out this circular motion with the drone and trying to keep a subject in the centre of the frame. So it's all about micro movements with the joysticks. So what you need to do is to find yourself a nice big open field like this one, and find yourself a subject that's in the middle of the field without any other obstructions around. So make sure you've got permission from the landowner, and then we'll have a go at trying out this circular motion. Make sure you're at a decent height to get the whole subject in the frame. At this case, I'm about 25 feet or about 10 meters up in the air. Once the drone is hovering at the height you're happiest with, to begin with, press the right control stick left to give you a left tracking motion, and then also press the left joystick right to make sure you keep your subject in the center of the frame. Your drone will then begin to circle around the subject. Now, one very important aspect here is to make sure you do not send the drone completely around the other side of the subject, because if you lose visual line of sight of your drone, the signal will cut off between the drone and the remote control and you will lose control. So as soon as you think you've gone far enough, stop, let go of the controls and press the reverse in both directions on the joysticks. So with the right hand control stick, press right, which will give you a right tracking motion. On the left control stick, press left, which will keep the subject in the center of the frame as you circle around it. Now keep doing this, keep practicing until you feel comfortable about keeping that subject in the center of the frame, and you will start to understand how those minimal movements on the joysticks will give you a much better sense of control. As an extension task to this circular motion using manual controls, the next step would be to start closer to the subject and gradually move backwards as you're circling the subject and trying to keep it in the center of the frame. Going in this spiral shape around a subject and keeping the subject in the center of the frame takes a lot of practice, but it's a really good skill to develop. If you find it difficult with a large object like a tree, then try doing it with yourself in the centre of the frame. This way you can keep an eye on the drone and make sure it's facing you at all times while you're spiralling around yourself. So keep practicing these tasks, it will really help you develop some manual control skills with the joysticks. So just before you head out to do this yourselves, here is a checklist of top tips for you to follow. Number 1, find a location that you can use and make sure there is plenty of space around the subject. Number 2 is make sure you get permission from the landowner. Number 3 is make sure you are far enough away from the subject to give equal space above and below the subject in the frame. Number 4 is lift your drone to the same height as the subject off the ground. And number 5, press the right control stick left and then also press the left joystick right to make sure you keep your subject in the centre of the frame. Number 6 is do not go all the way behind the subject or you will lose connection from the remote control. Number 7 is let go of both sticks and reverse the direction the other way. Number 8 is if you want an advanced cinematic move, repeat step 5, but on the right hand stick also push slowly backwards to increase the distance from the subject.